Welcome to McVic Education Consulting. We are passionate about your learning, development, and success. Our services include student admission to Canada and academic coaching, professional development programs, research and evaluation.
And with me today, I have two wonderful brain gentlemen from the continent, and I would want them to introduce themselves. Sam, and then we go to Sop.
Hi everybody, my name is Sam Kenstone. I am a PhD candidate at Faculty of Medicine, School of Population and Public Health, University of British Columbia. I am originally from Ghana, but I've been living in the diaspora for the past 15 years. So I hope to share some of those stories, experiences, and life trajectories with you. So it's a great pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome. Sop?
Thank you everyone for having me. My name is Christian Sopuruchi, also called Uncle Sop. I am a student of law at the University of British Columbia. I am studying for a PhD at the Allard Law School.
Thank you so much. And of course, my name is Kimani Wa Karangu, and I originate from the east of Africa, that is Kenya. And I'm also almost completing my PhD, having stayed in Canada for the last 7 years. I don't know how I did it, but here we are. So thank you.
I would like to reiterate that Canada offers one of the cheapest graduate studies in the world. The same cannot be said of undergrad. So when I speak, I'll be speaking basically about graduate, that's master's and PhD. For my program, and for that matter, UBC, one of the main requirements for PhD students is to have a supervisor. I always tell my friends that if you have a supervisor, your chances of admission is almost 100%. Of course, nothing is 100%, but you are guaranteed. You are almost guaranteed. So when I see friends say, "Oh, Sam, I want to study at UBC, I want to do my PhD," I said, you can apply. Nothing wrong with that. But for most programs, if you have a supervisor, you can be assured of your admission. So that's the first thing I tell everybody. Look for a supervisor. And maybe in the next section, I'll talk about how to find a supervisor, but that'll be my main key advice. And once you have a supervisor at UBC, there is something called guaranteed minimum funding. I am funded for 4 years. That's why I want to finish my PhD in 4 years. I don't know what will happen after 4 years, but for the first 4 years, I am sure I'll be receiving funding. So we have a guaranteed minimum funding for the first 4 years.
Thank you. So you talked about getting a supervisor, and I know we'll be talking about this, but what is it that you can include? How or where do you get these supervisors from?
Yes, I can just jump in quickly before. So for what I did was I went to UBC website. There is a place for list of supervisors. So I'm using UBC as an example, but it happens across Canada. As a matter of fact, every school operates in a very similar manner. I want to be smart. At the same time, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to look too smart. So what I did, I have a template with introduction letter, body of the letter, conclusion of the letter. And then I went through this supervisors list. I just want to do my PhD. So I wasn't keen on what kind of supervisor to work with, or I just want a PhD, to be honest with you. I wanted to move to Canada. And so I looked through all supervisors. So one thing people get wrong is writing "Dear Sir," "Dear Doctor," "Dear Professor." Chances are that people wouldn't respond if you do that. So if I look through your profile and your name is Kimani, I write "Dear Dr. Kimani. It's a pleasure reaching out to you. I would like you to be my supervisor." Then I read a little bit about their bio and said, "I read your paper, the relationship between Kenya and Ghana and how Africans can support that. And this is a good paper, and I would want to work more on in your field." When you do that, the person knows you've taken an effort to read about them, to read about their bio, but not all about what you want to do. Oh, my name is Sam, and I want to research on Canada-Ghana relationship. And the guy said, this is not in my field. Now, I don't forward the same letter to people, but in a one sitting, I can write to about 5 supervisors. But what I do is the next person, I change the name and I address them by their name. So the next person I write, Dear Dr. Sopuruchi. And then I've read your paper, Law and Intelligent Property Among WHO Traders. And this is something fantastic. So you realize that the template is the same, but I include a section where I read their paper and I take some few things from their publication. That way they realize, oh, this guy really took an effort and made an effort to read about me, about my biography, about my papers. Also, what I do is I read the recent one. So I said, I've read your recent publication among many. So that is something I encourage people to do. I see a lot of people write, Dear Sir, Dear Professor, my name is this, I'm from this, I want to do PhD at UBC. I'll be grateful if you'll be my supervisor. Thank you. That wouldn't go anywhere because they know you've really not read about them. So that would be my first advice to anybody reaching out to a supervisor.
Thank you so much. So talking about being personable and having insights onto the people that you're trying to look for as a basic requirement for opportunity. Uncle Sop, do you think you would say the same?
Yes. In fact, I would totally second or adopt his position as mine, which is exactly what I did. For us in law, we also have a guaranteed minimum funding. Mm-hmm. However, they can also look at your credentials and increase your funding. So they increase their funding for our cohort to what they call 4-year fellowship, right? And the initial funding they gave us was too small, but this one is small, right? So it also included the tuition and all that. So for me, getting a PhD offer in law followed the process he talked about. First of all, in law here at UBC, you don't have to get a supervisor first. They tell you to apply without a supervisor. But I know that is a trap. Because I'm a teacher myself, so I know how we think about these things. Right, I have also been in faculties where they consider PhD students, and I know if there is nobody on the panel that is doing the same thing as you, nobody will look at your work. So even though they say don't bother to look for a supervisor, please go ahead and look for one. Right? Go to the website, be sure that your proposal tallies with at least the project one person is doing, and try to convince that person to be your supervisor. And so what I did was I wrote to one of the professors I saw, matched what I was doing, using the same format he talked about. I had to read 1 or 2 of their papers, extract things from what is their interest and what they are doing at the moment, and say, I want to develop this further. So I now included the name of that person in my application as somebody who is potentially interested in supervising me. Right? So when I did that, my supervisor now is not that person. Right? But I found out that because of I've already done that, she was now interested in my research, but of course it was given to somebody else. However, the person I wrote to is now agreeing to be my supervisory team. Mm-hmm. So follow the procedure of having to do the work. You must know that nothing good will just fall on your lap. So just remove that idea from your head. It can never fall on your lap. You have to go and look for it. And that means you have to make the effort required in doing this. And it may take you, the process of applying to different universities is work. You may say, oh, let me just quickly in 1 hour, I'll just fly. But by the time you get one paper, and you read it and you are looking at your proposal and you are realizing my proposal is not in line with this person's, you start looking for people who actually align with what you want to do. So it's a process. You have to sit down and clean out your papers, not your paper, rather, clean out your proposal, ensure it ties to somebody who is working on the project that you want to do. Appeal to the person to be your supervisor. If they agree, your chances of admission increases exponentially. So that is what I would like to add.
You talked about funding. Would you be in a position to talk about what you know about funding that is available for students joining Masters and PhD in Canada?
So in UBC, there is something called guaranteed minimum funding. Currently is 22,000. That's the minimum the university can give you when you are admitted. People like Soap said, Soap is smart. He did it fantastic. So when you are admitted, you are given that minimum. But based on your application and how you put yourself across, it's all about marketing yourself. Like he said, what is on your admission letter, they can change it and increase it. I mean, I'm not shy to say the same thing happened to me. They offered me, when I started my program 3 years ago. So they started, that time it was, I think, 18,000 when we started. But after I got my admission letter, they said, oh, based on your academic qualification and your experience, we are happy to offer you faculty funding of 15,000 for the first 2 years. So that comes in addition to my minimum funding. I'm like, hooray, who doesn't want this? So I know for my first 2 years, my 18,000 is secured, and then my 15,000 is secured. Now that I've finished my first 2 years, I TA now. First 2 years, I never bothered to TA because I know those are funded. Now I've TA'd and priority is given to us over others. So I got TA jobs, which for my department, it comes on top of that. So those are the things you can do. How you package yourself at the beginning could even let them increase your minimum funding. And I know people get various amount, 25K, 30K. Some people even get all scholarship. Vanier scholarship gives you 50K a year. Affiliated scholarships gives you 35K a year. So there are so many scholarships you can apply to in addition. And all those, nothing prevents you from applying to them. But you are sure of your guaranteed minimum funding, which is now 22,000. And if you package your application very well, they add some extra to it for you.
And you mentioned about TA. This is teaching assistant.
Teaching assistant.
It's a job you do to get more money.
Yes.
Must you be a teacher to do this?
No, unfortunately, I don't like talking about it. But as I said, I just wanted to move to Canada. I'm a doctor by training, and I got tired when I finished med school 11 years ago, and I worked for 8 years, and I'm like, there should be more. So, and Canada is one of the countries I wanted to move to, and coming here as a doctor is not easy. But relatively, coming here as a student, I could do masters, I could do PhD. I'm like, why don't you do PhD since it's the climate? So I applied for PhD, and it's easier to come here as a PhD student than to come here as a doctor. So for my friends out there who have professions, lawyers, doctors, engineers, and the rest, I know we feel so proud, we feel so arrogant, and in our role, I mean, those days it's just nice. Everybody come to the hospital, oh, Dr. Kenstone, Dr. Kenstone. You feel so proud, self-esteem. Boy, there's nothing wrong. Come here for 2 years masters, even sometimes 1 year master. After you've done that, you can now trace your path to what your profession is and how you want to do that. I have my medical exam on June 23rd, 2023, that I haven't even started studying and preparing for. But I know that's my dream. So I've just finished my candidacy exam last week. Now I can take a deep breath and start studying for my exam. So that's how things work. You come here using education as a pathway. Then once you are here in Canada, you can go ahead and fulfill your dream in your profession or how you want things to be done for you. So that's what I'll say. So TA, I've never taught before. I'm a physician, But what does it change? You've taken all those courses and now it's your chance to just guide students, teach them, and make extra money. Why not? Go for it. So that's why I TA 3 courses now. So TA is teaching assistant.
Okay. Thank you so much. And you have articulated well the minimum funding, the affiliate, the shark. The shark is the equivalent of affiliate, and also the vanilla one. And thank you so much for that elaboration, and also teasing and hinting to us about your dream. And we are wishing you all the best when it comes to your medical doctor exam in June 2023. Do we have any knowledge of any funding available for master's students? And what could be that, that process in any given time and opportunity?
Yes, in UBC and I believe in most schools in Canada, there are two kinds of masters. There is the research-based masters and the course-based masters. Actually, there are three. And there is the professional path masters. Professional path are like 1 year, very expensive. Mostly it has no scholarship or very little bursary. The course-based masters have what we call merit-based scholarship. If you come here and you kill yourself, study, get 90 in your exams, you get merit-based scholarship. But for thesis-based masters, they have some RAship, research assistant funding for you. It's not the same as the PhD where there is a guaranteed minimum funding. But for master students in the thesis program, they receive some level of funding from their faculty, department, or supervisor, but it's not guaranteed. What the difference is for a PhD student, whether you are a research assistant or not, once you get your admission, you know some amount of money is guaranteed for you. That cannot be said of master's program. But if you are in a thesis-based master's, you receive some level of money, but it varies across board. I know my friends who receive 8,000, another person who receive 15,000, and as an executive of mine who received 22,000. I'm like, you are not even a PhD student, but you receive that much. So it really varies. It's based on your supervisor and your program.
Wow. That's amazing. And of course, for international students, there is whatever they call the International Tuition Award. Not so much.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, and of course the President Initiative something Excellence Award. So there are those available for masters and all that. Uncle Sop, any from your department, anything that come to mind?
Yeah, exactly what he said. There is a professional master's, a research master's, and a PhD. And what I would say to that is, it depends on what you want. Usually, if you want to just come here, do a quick course, professional programs are for people who are already in professions, right? They just want to quickly learn something about this particular program and then be gone. There are people who come for a research program, which they get some funding. But then I must add that it is not compulsory that your PhD must be funded.
Yeah.
Although because of the few PhD applicants they finally admit they fund them, but I know PhD students that are not funded. I know master students that have received very little funding, and I know people that the funding they receive is still so low, they have to really work hard through other means to pay their tuition. The remaining part of the tuition and do the rest of their research. So I don't think any of these processes is bad, because for me, I was already also ready to pay my school fees because it was not very expensive, right? But I was now surprised to find that I didn't have to pay anything, basically. So if you find anyone and it's something you can afford, then go for it.
When is the best time to start search or the application process? When did you start?
Canada has a reputation for really extended periods before they get back to you. I applied for the program I started in September of last year. I got admission in March or April rather. So you start preparing for that application. I started writing my proposal. I will send it to my friends from January last year. Right? So, because doing a very good proposal requires a little work, and I had to ensure that it came up to the standard. And that's what I did. I spoke with my friends. They helped me out and helped me to piece it together. And after I did that, I now submitted my application, and then came the long period of waiting. So you had to wait for a very long time. It took 6 months before I got an offer.
Wow.
And it's not compulsory that the offer must be affirmative, and that is also a big problem. And it's not even compulsory that because you've gotten admission, you must get your visa, which is also something annoying about the whole process. So it took 6 months before I got an offer, yes.
Wow. So for anybody thinking to join, and of course, most institutions start their academic year in September, meaning
Yes.
if you're thinking of going to school, you have to start 1 year, at least one year in advance before the admission start getting considered. And I think this one depends, and it varies from one institution to another, and also from department to another. I think so, just like it is with the funding.
I don't know. I think they generally take 6 months. Or is that not, Sam? Is that not your experience?
Yes, that is my experience.
Yeah. So their PhD package is usually 6 months, and across universities in Canada, I noticed that is largely the process. For their master's admissions, except where they clearly state that this is accelerated master's programs for people already in Canada.
Yeah.
It takes 3 months.
Somebody is in a very remote place in Africa. How do you go about this?
No matter how remote where you are is, if you have internet,
yes,
you are no longer remote, and that's the fact. So if you have internet, you can go anywhere you want to go. When I got my first scholarship to the UK, that was the first time I left Nigeria. I did not need to do anything special. I was in a remote village in Nigeria called Ile-Ife. It's the source of Yoruba people. A very remote place, right? So that's where I got the scholarship from. Many times what people need is information. And finding the information and being able to interpret the information is the problem. It is not that they are in a remote place, because you can be in a very forward-looking place, but be unable to know what to do. I know some students that have come, they didn't get any funding, but they didn't even bother to look for scholarships. They just went to work, right? They work, they study, they pay their bills, which in the end is the same thing, right? All you needed is money to afford your fees, and if you can do a good job that pays you enough to pay your fees and give you a comfortable life in Canada, you have also met that specific objective. So a remote place does not matter as far as you have access to information, which is what you are trying to provide, which is really good too.
Thank you. Thank you, particularly for that. Sam, do you also think the same? How would these people find scholarship for their studies in Canada?
So made a beautiful statement. If you have internet, you are no more remote. That is true. And I must say, we may sound as if it's easy. It's not that easy. It requires a lot of work. There were schools that I looked up before I came to UBC. One thing that made me like UBC was the guaranteed minimum funding. However, there are other schools that I could have applied to that has relatively cheap tuition that if they are not even giving me scholarship, I will still be able to afford. It's because I have really spent time searching for schools in the US, searching for schools in Canada. And then by default, I came across UBC, and on the website, it said all admitted students receive this minimum money. I'm like, so why do I go to another school that after I get the admission, I now have to apply for scholarship, which I may get or I may not get? But if another school with very low tuition, then I don't really care about getting the funding or not. So to reiterate two things he said, if you think you can afford 6,000, 7,000, 10,000, which to you may not be nothing, you can go to schools that their tuition is low and they don't have guaranteed funding, and you still graduate, find a good job in Canada, or go back home, or do whatever you want to do with your life. You don't have to chase the funding. Look for schools with lower tuition. There is no point chasing schools that are extremely expensive and you don't even get the funding. So look for schools with lower tuition. 2, spend time, plan it. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to Canada next month. No. The least you want to do for yourself is tell yourself next year by this time. So have 1 year, buy more data. If you don't have Wi-Fi, internet, something, every week check something. Google search schools in Canada with low tuition. Read a little bit about them, write it down, cross it. So you know you've read about Simon Fraser University, you cross it. You've read about Langara College, you cross it. You've read about Lethbridge University, you cross it. And you are not looking for the famous ones like University of Toronto, McGill, and UBC. If you are just looking for a cheap school, you rather want to go to the bottom and search for those schools. Try as much as possible to read about others. Like I went to UBC website and I read other people's statement of purpose and letter of intent and the guidance given there. I'm not shy to say it. When I left Ghana in 2007, this is how we write our letter. Oh, dear sir, my name is Sam. I am the second of 4 children. I come from this. I mean, that's fine for that level, but the world has changed. We have moved on. That's not how people write letter of intent anymore. Nobody wants to know how many children your parents have and what number are you and those things. Go straight to the point, write proficiently, eloquently, and elegantly. So read others' work, take something from it. It should be maximum of 1 page. I usually go for 2/3 of a page. And don't write 4 pages. I know people who write 4 pages of statement. Oh, my father is a farmer and my mom is a market woman. Things are so hard for my mom. She's working hard to take care of us. You don't need those things in your letter of intent. Keep it short, keep it brief. Go to the website of the school. They will have templates there. They will have samples there. Most importantly, market yourself. Don't talk about your family history, your background, how the political atmosphere in your country is chasing you to leave the country. No, I'm saying this because I also do this and I try to help people. They send me their letter of intent. I'm like, if I am the supervisor or the professor, I'm definitely not reading this 4 pages. No, that's not happening. But it's not everybody that have the opportunity to share that. So what I'll say is put in some effort, read about others, and you'll be good. Keep it to 1 page maximum.
Thank you. And so when you talk about this, the letter of intent, the personal note, and all those things, Uncle Sop, did you have the same experience of writing these? And what is it that some say that it has to be simple and concise? What are the most important things that you need to put there without putting how many goats you have?
Well, now that you mentioned, my statement of purpose is actually 5 pages.
Okay, you need to see
So,
some.
but then, was it a statement of purpose or a proposal? I just called it a proposal, right? Which is literally just explaining the research I want to do. So, and I put headings, so it's quite interesting.
So let me stop you right there. You are smart. That's a proposal you wrote. That's not statement of purpose. Or that's not letter of intent reaching out. You put your proposal right there, and I'm sure they love it.
Okay, letter of intent is usually supposed to be just a page. If you want to write, that is quickly explaining why you want to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
But I will always advise people to put the type of research you want to do, an explanation of it. You have to work. It's not supposed to. Just tell yourself it's not supposed to be easy. Just tell it to yourself. Say it, then go ahead and work. Tell yourself it is not supposed to be easy. And the reason why it's not supposed to be easy is just imagine how much it's calling. Will they give you 30? If you have $30,000, will you give it to somebody who just writes anything they get out from anywhere? You won't do that. I will not want to do that. In fact, I will not want to give you 5 naira for nothing. You have to work for it, and you have to also, the work has 2 objectives. One, it makes you feel like you merit what you get. So it's not a favor done for you. You actually wrote something outstanding. And 2 is it also convinces them that this person deserves this. You may be the smartest person in Ghana or in Nigeria or somewhere, but there is no way for people to know you are the smartest if you can't articulate a good write-up. So a letter of intent, 1 page. I don't know why he's saying 4 pages. If it's letter of intent, in Nigeria we used to add O to things. If it's letter of intent, it must be 1 page. It can't be more than 1 page. Because what? Who will read it? Is it your father that will read that thing? If you want to call your father to read your letter of intent, then write 300 pages for him. But proposal 2, short, 5 pages. Put everything, including your work schedule, whether you will apply for funding, because I put everything there. I put my work schedule I want to finish in 3 years. It's 3 years I put there. But I want to mention something which is the game changer, and that is the person's personal profile. That is a summation of your work experience, your CV, your research, what you have been up to. Many Africans I've met are overqualified for what they're applying for. But the point is that they don't know how to market themselves. They sell themselves short.
What challenges do you think you faced, and how did you overcome those ones in the process of applying and becoming Sam?
Challenge people face, or most people from Africa who face, has already been addressed. Low self-esteem, undervaluing yourself. If you don't really market yourself, know who you are and really market yourself, you realize that I'm qualified for this, I can do this, and you wouldn't be giving. Number 2 is visa denials. You don't want to pay a lot of money and get denied your visa. So I go with the same approach. Anytime when I apply for visa, I go above and beyond what they've asked for. When I apply, I add a note. There is a place for optional. I don't ever leave any optional place empty. I add a note, explain myself like Sopuruchi rightly put it. I said, I'm a physician for 11 years, 3 years of housemanship, 2 years of work, and 4 years of residency. I have expertise in this. I can do this. I even said I can work to bring more things to your economy while studying. I am sure I'll be a valuable asset to you. A physician coming to do PhD, I wrote it there. And so whoever look at my application and made a mistake and click on optional, I wrote a letter explaining my situation step by step and point by point, how I am an asset to this country if I am granted a visa, because I've already got my admission. All you need to do is give me visa. So you need to really market yourself. For me, I take the visa seriously, because what will happen if you are denied? You've wasted your money, right? And it will be a long process. So instead of that, write an extra note. So that's number 2. And the third thing is the processes. I know bank statements, medicals, and those things. So for bank statement, I use my bank statement. Thankfully, I had some little money, but I've also spoken to others who somebody is giving you a bank statement. Don't just put the person's bank statement there. Even yesterday, somebody reached out to me. My daddy is the one giving a bank statement. Do I still need to prove something? I said, let your daddy write a letter. Attach it to that bank statement. It makes it more authentic. You don't want to give any doubt for anybody to. And unfortunately, the person asked me, how should that letter be? Sometimes I get angry because I feel people should use their brain, but I also appreciate that we are all not the same. I'm like, write the letter on behalf of daddy. Say, I am the father of, put the name there. I agree to pay his tuition. This is my bank statement, and I approve his education, and I will take care of everything. Like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, or 1 paragraph. Sign it, let your dad sign it, make a PDF, let it be the first page to the bank statement before you upload it. Trust me, those little things help. You may take them for granted, but my experience is that most people who go above and beyond don't get denied.
One of the challenges is rejection.
Correct.
It is not compulsory that you will be accepted. I was actually denied admission by a lesser university in Canada. I applied to 2 schools. And in fact, the truth was that I was using the lesser university to hedge in case UBC denies me. And I first got a rejection from that university, and I was really alarmed. Like, oh my goodness. The age I'm trying to use in case UBC denies me has already denied me. Does it mean I will get this UBC admission? But schools deny students for a number of reasons. Number 1 is they can't just take more than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That is 1. Second, you applied late. 4th, they don't have anybody on the panel that decides that they will take your work further. There are so many reasons that doesn't even speak to your competence as a person. And many times people, when they are denied, have this yoke of rejection on them. Like the worst thing in the world has happened to them. Just brush it up, apply again.
Okay.
The key usually is to spread out. I know the Bible, which is a very good book, says give a portion to 7 and another to 8, or cast your bread upon the waters. One of them will come back. Amen. That is usually the mentality I use for things. When somebody says, I am sorry, once I read that, I'm just reading, just try again next time. Simple.
Okay.
I don't take no as something that I have gotten so many no's in my life. Just the project I did on Friday, I told you how many places I had to go to and many applications I had to do before I found one place that agreed to fund it. So no for me means try again. And then if you have that perspective, just gather money to pay application fee for 3 or 4 schools. Scatter your application across them and sit back and watch. Another thing I'll quickly mention is this. If you're a first-time traveler to countries that are really cold, invest in the relationships of people that look like you. Otherwise, loneliness will finish you. Always ask yourself, what did I do wrong in this application? Learn it and do better next time. Apply to the same school again apply to an equivalent school. You are going to learn a lot if you agree to allow people that have come here before you to advise you.
Sam, do you have final shots for these to future students that may want to brace themselves for this opportunity?
Yeah, my final word is Canada is worth it. If you've started the process, don't give up. It may not be that easy and straightforward, but give it another shot. You will get it. A lot of your kind of people, we are here. And if we are here, you can be here too. So never give up.
Let students know, let other people like us know that the world is a stage. There is this argument that when people leave Africa, they are contributing to brain drain. But I don't think so. Because it is only brain drain if you don't intend to give back to the continent. There is so much more you can gain if you pick resources from everywhere else. We are coming to pick something that will take back to make our country better. The world is a stage now. It's a global village. We can learn from anywhere in the world. Since we cannot go and steal people from other countries anymore, we cannot go and steal resources from other countries. We can at least learn what they know. Who knows, that may contribute in solving an African problem. And so, go out there, get more information, but get that information with the perspective of helping your people back home.
So thank you so much, Uncle Sop and Sam, for that. And may you have a nice, wonderful, snowy day ahead.